It would be nice to know whether people have changed now. I mean, have we learned, in my view, I would think that the post-election violence taught us something good. I mean, it was a bad thing, but I also feel like we as Kenyans have been able to learn something from that. We've been able to probably fast track the reforms. Is that, I mean, that's my...
Personally, I would say that we haven't learned anything from that crisis.
Yeah.
There's nothing that we have learned, because the same way of organizing, the same passions that we have for each other, the same negative perceptions and the discourses about each other community are the same things that are continuing. And I think I blame leadership. It's good to call a spade a spade. Kenya's political leadership is lacking, or Kenya's political leadership is weak, and it does not have a self-commitment to say that let's look at the root causes of these ethnic differences and eliminate them. And unless there comes a strong leader who says that enough is enough, we are one nation, let's move forward, we shall go back to the old way of fighting again. Look at even how people used to organize from that particular time. Even punishing people has become very difficult. That's why no one has been punished for rape. No one has been punished for killing women, killing men, killing children. No one has been punished. But the people, I mean, we still continue holding people who are being held to account now as heroes. We are doing something wrong. I think we have a problem.
I think that's probably where the 207 experience should have changed how we look at our own country. I visited the area myself, first immediately after the conflict, and I also visited my sister who lives in the area, who has been, many times been sort of an IDP in the region. But I went to that area, and what I noticed, which was shocking, was that you have these communities that have been doing business together for a long time, but now there was a lot of mistrust. They were shopping in, one group was going to one shop, the other one was going to another shop. And I thought that was shocking, but I'm hoping that probably by now things have changed in terms of the mistrust as we move ahead. But it was quite shocking for me.
Actually, the things have not changed. I was in Joro about 1 year ago. I saw a marketplace that had 2 different names, used by the 2 different communities, and people going to the market on different times of the week.
Different ethnic groups.
One ethnic group goes to that market on a Monday and calls that market a different name. The second group goes the next day and calls it a different name. So what are we talking about? Reconciliation and the healing of the country. I think we are...
Is that only... I think when I look at the urban areas, I don't know, in Nairobi, I thought that people had come together, particularly after the passage of the Constitution. But it's really unfortunate if that's happening in particular areas of the country.
Yeah, my hope is that people can reconcile. I mean, whether anything has happened or not, my desire is that we reconcile, because that's the only way forward. And a lot of us have been left with a lot of permanent damage, having lost our relatives in the post-election violence. Our only hope is reconciliation. In Nairobi, it's not so much about the differences in ethnic. It has not always been, and it will not be, because we are brought up, many communities living together. And so we have to speak one language, and that brings people together. So it's in those areas that work needs to be done. And it all starts with leadership, like
it is a question of leadership, but it's also a question of rule of law. I mean, you cannot have reconciliation if people are not being held to account for their crimes.
So the other factor in 207, of course, was the Mogiki, which is the youth gang that was actually a big factor in terms of the violence. And I did see, for example, that even Nairobi, they were very active. They were sort of controlling the traffic. They became actually quite violent in some parts of the country, and also in Naivasha and Nakuru. And my hope was that after that experience, we would deal with this type of organized gangs seriously, because they will be a factor. And I'm hoping that at least the government has tried to put in place mechanisms to deal with such groups. So I'm hoping that this time around, that we will not have organized gangs and in the country.
You know, Mwangi, these organized gangs are also political. They provide political protection to politicians, and therefore we don't expect the government to act on them that easily.
And if anything, I think they have increased, because I heard the other day they were saying that each, like Kisii, they have the Chinkororo, Kikuyus have the Mungiki. There are many small groups that have come up now.
So it looks like we have to say that we ran some lessons, but we are still in an unfortunate situation, and we can just hope that as we move on to March 4, that we will avoid the conflict, and we will be able to have a peaceful elections and at least learn from 2007 the lessons that we have not learned as yet.